Hi, it's Mary Ellen with IT in Canada, and I'm here today at the Hitachi Information Forum in Toronto speaking with Shawn Rosemarin, who's the National Director of Sales, File and Content Solutions for Hitachi. Shawn, thanks very much for taking the time to speak to me today.
Thank you.
In your presentation this afternoon, you mentioned a number of storage technologies that help support the creation of a dynamic cloud environment. So there was talk of deduplication, dynamic provisioning, tiering, etc. Is there a logical path that you would advise a smaller Canadian company to cycle through? I'm interested in the idea of alignment between what's going on with storage virtualization and with virtualization that might be going on the server side.
Sure. So what we're finding in most scenarios is most customers have embraced server virtualization. They've dramatically reduced their physical footprint and are starting to reduce the OpEx footprint tied to the virtualization of the server stack. As we've now moved into the storage stack, the primary role for any business is to first understand the application workloads. Ultimately, the application workloads will determine the data types. Once those data types are understood, that will determine what platform of storage those data types would typically sit on. And my number one guidance to any organization would be look to unify and consolidate wherever possible when building out your storage stack. We talked today about the unified storage platform. We talked about the benefits of moving away from silos. Just because you need some block storage and some file storage and even some object storage, there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't be able to unify that onto one pool of disk with several controllers delivering the functionality that you need. So my overall advice to businesses, start with the applications, understand the workloads, understand the data structures, and then look for a unified storage platform to run those data structures out to your end customers. Okay.
And the unified storage platform would include all of the technologies that you mentioned in your presentation this afternoon.
That's correct. So we do believe that HDS, Hitachi Data Systems, is very unique in bringing a product to market that allows our clients to take Tier 1 block workloads, Tier 1 file workloads, and Tier 1 object workloads and run them across one unified pool of disk with one unified management interface, allowing for some tremendous cost containment and ease of management.
And how would a customer go about deploying unified storage in a heterogeneous data center environment? Most customers are looking to preserve some of their existing investments. So how does one deploy unified storage?
So the most logical place to start in most cases is look at the tier that is most coming end of life. If you've got everything you need right now and you're perfectly stable with where you are, then look for the next opportunity where you're going to require growth. And ultimately, although in many cases one might like to bulldoze the own environment, it doesn't make any sense. So when you're building out your unified framework, start with block. If block is the first element where you require more space and you're up for renewal, purchase that unified stack on the block level. And then as file comes due, add that file head, and as object comes due, add that object head, or vice versa, allowing you to grow into your unified environment and build towards that over a couple-year horizon as opposed to all at once.
Can we talk about cloud for a minute? Sure. I'm interested in what Hitachi sees as its role in the cloud, and I'm also interested in what technologies you feel are important for an organization, storage technologies, as they migrate from a content cloud to an information cloud.
Sure. So let's first start by peeling back the cloud a little bit, maybe separate into private and public clouds. For most of our organizations out there, in the past, the only way to go to market in terms of IT service delivery was the internal IT organization. Now, in many cases, that IT organization is getting measured up against public cloud providers who are bringing a cost per gig, cost per user, cost per application model to market. It's leaving a lot of clients in a situation where they have to decide, do I want to run my own cloud and bill it back to my own user base, or do I want to go externally, get out of the IT business altogether, and start to bring in individual cloud providers to satisfy my infrastructure requests? When looking at that particular environment, first thing you got to do is figure out how can I start to monetize and break down workloads based on the people who are using them. It's just no longer acceptable to have the business split the overall expense of storage because you have no way to break it out. So with Hitachi Data Systems Unified Storage Platform, what we've enabled is the ability to A, unify file, block, and object within one platform, B, provide a central command suite that allows you to provision, administer, and manage SLAs and service level objectives around that storage, and also activity-based cost, what's happening in that business back to your individual users. So for organizations that want to move towards the cloud by optimizing their infrastructure, by investing in an HDS unified platform, they can start to deliver end-user costing back to the business, and then decide over time whether or not it makes sense to stay in that business and invest in the IT in-house, or look externally for partner-provided solutions.
Okay, and just for a little bit more clarification, how is the Content Cloud differentiated then from the Information Cloud? Because I understood the distinction you made between private and public services.
Sure, so now let's dive into the cloud for a moment. The way Hitachi defines it within our vision, the infrastructure cloud fundamentally says, I want to move away from individual server storage and network towards a grid. And I want to be able to provision that grid based on the workloads asked of the business. In essence, I've abstracted my applications from the infrastructure. That's step one. Step two, at the Content Cloud level, says, now let me be able to take that data and abstract it from the application. So in essence, I don't need to keep this pool of old legacy applications just so I can read the data that was created within it. Once I have this pool of data, I now have my Content Cloud. I have access to all the structured and unstructured data within my organization without any proprietary ties to the application that lie beneath it. At the top level of this maturity curve of the cloud, we talk about the information, specifically the Information Cloud. And this says, now allow me the analytics to look into this Content Cloud and start to provide clear guidance and direction, clear conclusions, expert systems per se, into what can I do with that data? What's common around that data? What conclusions and what data can I tie together that's of a common ilk that gives me a better view of that overall record? That in essence is the Information Cloud, being able to dive through that content repository and being able to bring real value to the business.
Mm-hmm. And with your management systems, you provide access to the data that in the past maybe was stored rather than analyzed in this Information Cloud.
That's right. I mean, what's really brought us to the point we are today is not only do we now capture more information digitally than we ever did before, but we now have the ability to ingest analog information in forms of paper or even analog video in a much more effective way than we ever did before. Once we've captured all digitally, now the real beauty begins to be able to mine that data and start to provide conclusions out to end users.
Mm-hmm. Thanks very much. That's a very good lead for my last question, and that's about the creation of specialty clouds that bring in expertise. Mr. Yoshida mentioned in his presentation that Hitachi has a unique ability to leverage other areas of the business and to bring those together with specialization in storage to create cloud solutions. I'm just wondering if you can give me an example of an HDS created cloud, a vertical cloud, and also let me know if you think there's a vertical cloud that might be appropriate for the Canadian marketplace.
Sure. So, our primary investment from trying to, bring this vision of an information cloud to life exists within our healthcare repository, which in essence has solved one of the most pressing problems around e-health, allowing individual hospitals, individual healthcare authorities to conglomerate and allow common access to multiple PACS or X-ray image systems, irregardless of where the PACS was created. If you think about a healthcare life cycle, that patient might have individual Word documents, individual Excel spreadsheets, individual X-rays, individual blood tests. Being able to consolidate all that, once again, from abstracting the data from the application which was created, allows me to tie that whole record together as an object within the Hitachi content platform, and then be able to give an individual physician the view into that entire record, regardless of where that patient may have gone to deliver the test, giving that physician one single record. But secondly, also drawing the intelligence and analytics to draw healthy conclusions out of that data, to be able to provide a quicker diagnosis to the end patient.
Mm-hmm. A very good solution for an industry that's, by definition, a distributed industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. Thank you very much for your insights today, Shawn. I appreciate it.
Thank you.